Thank you, Laska Hirlock. And Colin, you might want to answer this because she might not be talking to me after the Tyrone, the All-Ireland final. Look, thank you for your words today in relation to the lack of representation for the North and a voice for them. It's hugely frustrating for people that consider themselves European, whether they have an Irish passport or a British passport. We saw that through the EU COVID digital cert, and now we're hopefully going to see a portal launched where they'll have access to it, but there's still question marks around what takes precedence, citizenship or residency. So it has to come with information around travel guidance, what airport you leave, your passenger locator forms, and what the process is. It brought up more confusion around the European health insurance card, which we want for people in the North to be able to access again, no matter what passport they have. And apparently, and I've learned in the last week that there could be a UK version that is kind of an in-between. So I'd like your thoughts on that. And also, will Northerners get access to Alma? And I think that's going to be a really important question for us. And you're both working also in the area of remote. And if you're familiar with the trans-border tax, and that is something that, or trans-border tax relief, that is something that's going to affect your areas as well, and making sure that people can work from home. And thank you for what you said about the originating status and the All-Ireland economy with dairy and whisky.
Thank you very much indeed, Senator Currie. And on this occasion, MEP Markey, please, to respond.
Start, I suppose, the trans-border tax scenario. Like, we ran a webinar in the early summer there in relation to remote working, and one of the things that was identified, we worked closely with Grow Remote, a very wonderful Irish organisation. I think it's in 16 countries at this stage, but we worked closely with them on it. And one of the key issues they identified was 55,000 jobs across Europe available to remotely. So anyone from anywhere could take up one of them jobs. But what was their status in terms of paying tax? Did they pay tax in the country they worked in? Did they pay tax in the country where the company was based? So there's a multiple of issues around tax in a remote working context, in a remote working scenario in a European context. And I think that's something that certainly we identified, and some of these organisations that we've been dealing with have identified, and there's a lot more work, and it's a whole space that we need to look into in greater detail. As regards Alma, I think if you look at the Erasmus Plus, where it's available across the board, I would I don't know, to be honest, but my understanding is that it would be available on the same basis. Just in relation to the digital COVID certificate, at the time it was created, the offer was there at European level that this can be more than just Europe, and I think others didn't take it up, and that has led to some of the concerns that are there. I suppose it leads to a broader debate. It's not just about COVID certificates. Like, it's about where people say what status people have with an Irish citizenship who aren't necessarily resident in the country. I have a brother living in Spain who gives me this debate every Christmas when he comes home. But I think it's very important that we look on the broader sense of all of this in terms of it's an island of Ireland debate in other ways, and we have to look at how we can build consensus to wherever we're going in terms of an outcome that allows everybody to be part of something without being forced into it, and allows everybody's difference to be recognised. And I think that's not been done at the moment in terms of what you suggest, and that's the spirit we need to engage with.
Thank you. MEP Watch.
Senator, great to see you, and I just want to acknowledge from the outset your work since COVID started in ensuring that Northern Ireland voices were forever discussed in here, and indeed next door, and at a European level, because we've spoken before about it. To the point around Alma, I Can't say for sure whether yes or no, but I'm very confident in our own Minister for Higher Education that the work that Simon had put in terms of the Erasmus Plus, that extension will be there, and I'm more than happy to, more than delighted to work with you and in making sure that's included, particularly in our own party and in the EPP. I also want to just acknowledge, because I know to Colm's point, you are pretty much the biggest champion that I know in terms of Grow Remote, and Tracy Keogh's work in making sure that the digital footprint is not just seen in bigger cities, but also across the European Union. To that point, I think the conversation, I believe, from where I'm standing now, around the future of our own tax rate will play into and play out the way, to your last point, on the transport and the further pay scale in terms of where people pay their tax. I do want to just acknowledge and lean into your experiences and the experience of others in this House in terms of Northern Ireland, because we have an awful lot to learn from your own rich history and making sure that voices, while they're not included, and it came up several times today, not included in Europe, but through you as a vessel, that we are making sure that we're abreast to the very sensitive nature. I believe we could have done a little bit better in terms of an all-Ireland approach, because a lot of the difficulties our citizens faced, both north and south, I believe would have been quite easier, or at least they wouldn't have felt the impact. Thank you very much, Keir.